Good. We started recording. So in a previous session, give me a minute. I will start the session. Yes. So now, like in a previous session, I explained you theory regarding future apex, and I explained you like future apex in a trailhead. In today's session, what we'll do is like we'll create one future apex method, apex class, and we'll discuss on that. Okay. So prior to that, what I'll do is I'll open a notepad and I'll explain you the importance of the future methods, like if someone asks you in an interview how you need to answer, I'll explain you those points now. Okay. So coming to the future method, I'm opening new notebook. So future method or future apex. It's a type of asynchronous apex. So like coming to the future apex, you need to remember these things. So whatever the future method you are defining, that must be a static method. That should be a static method, and like it should not return any data type. It should not return any data type, or we can say it as a must have void return type. Like I'll show you by writing a code so that you'll be understand much clearly. And the next parameters must be primitive data types. Like in this apex method, like whatever the parameters you specify, those parameters should be of primitive data types. So for external website callouts, we'll use that, like we saw that thing correctly, or collection of primitive data. Like if you use a collection, like whatever the collection data type internally you'll use, that should be also a collection of primitive data types only. These are the rules you need to follow while creating an Apex class with a feature method. Okay. So now the syntax for this feature method is like you can define a class with global or public like a class variable, and you can create an Apex class. So the things is these things you need to remember. So this Apex class will execute whenever the system resources are available. So now initially what I'll do is I'll go to trailhead and I'll create an asynchronous Apex. Like I'll create a future method. So it's asking me to set up a password, like while creating this account. It like the account created, yeah, we'll be having password policies. Based on that, it will ask us to change the password. You cannot reuse the old password. Okay. I'm changing the password. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll go to developer console and I'll create an Apex class. So you need to remember the rules while creating future method. Like it is for this, we are not implementing any interfaces, so that you need not to worry about the interfaces. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm clicking on new and I'm creating new Apex class. So for the Apex class name, I'm giving name like lead asynchronous. Lead asynchronous is my Apex class name, let us use. Okay. So whenever you create an Apex class, one class will be created with a public return type, like a public access variable with a class, a keyword, and like whatever the Apex class name you specify, that will be come up here. Now we need to create a method. So let's suppose what I want to do is I need to update all the lead records present in a Salesforce system. So for that, what I'll do is, so I'll define a method with a public data type. Why means like if the class is public, if you want to create a method, it might be a public method or it might be a private method, but it should not be a global. So if you use like a hierarchy should be high to low, but not from low to high. Okay. So public and I think you remember whenever you write a static class, like your method should be a static method and it should not return anything, means we are using void return type. And in this, like what I want to do is I need to update lead records. Update lead records. So in this, like what I'll do is initially I'll specify one parameter, that is list of lead records. Initially I'll pass list of leads here. Okay. So after doing this, I'll start a method. In this, I'll start writing a code. So now in this, like for this variable, whatever I initialize it here, I'll specify a variable name, that is existing lead rex. Let's suppose I'm giving this as a variable name. So after giving this name, what I want to do is I need to iterate through all the records. For here, what I'll do is I'll say lead, like here I'll want to take single record at a time. Record, like I'm giving variable name like record. I need to iterate through this lead records, existing lead records. Okay, so I'm specifying this stuff here. So now what I'll do is, sorry, it is a method, right? Okay, it's a function loop. In this loop, what I want to do, I need to replace for each and every record. So I need to take lead source field. So for this field, I need to give a value like web. I need to update this value with the name web. Okay. So after updating this value with a web, like after this loop terminates, like how many records we are querying, I need to update all those records. Update existing records. Let's suppose this is, yeah, update yeah, we'll be having this variable, right? We are iterating through this and we are doing this, right? So I'll keep that thing only. Okay. Now I'll save this code. So it's not having any problem. So like it is like if you look at this code, it is a synchronous code. There we did not added any feature method or any batch apex like that. That's why it is in synchronous code. To make it this method as a like asynchronous, we need to add a feature annotation to it. So I'm adding feature annotation to it. I'm saving this code. Now it will throw an error. So yes, it is throwing an error. Which error it is throwing? In a third line, feature method do not support the parameter type of list. So in a feature method, we cannot use list data type as a return type, like as a collection of leads. Why means feature methods won't allow the complex data types. So it will allow the primitive data types only. Primitive data types means integer, decimal, double, ID. Those are primitive data types. In a collection also, it won't accept other data types than primitive data types. So here what we can do is simply we can specify ID. So if you specify ID, now it will accept. I'm saving it now. Email required as object this type of lead. Where? Okay. Now what I am doing is I'm querying list of IDs. But like to get a list of IDs, we need to query the records present in a Salesforce system, right? That's missing. That's why it is saying an error in a fourth line. Invalid loop variable type expected ID was lead. So this loop is expecting leads, but we are saying ID. So it's not understanding what we are doing. So here, what we need to do is we need to query all the existing records. For that, what I'll do is I'll say this existing records, like I need to query those records. So for that, what I'll do is I'll say list of lead equals to existing records equals to, here we need to write that query. How we can query the account records? Select. So we need to query ID, comma. We need to query lead source, comma. And like, yeah, these two fields are more than enough from lead object. So like here we need to write a bind query where ID in existing records. It's a bind query, like it will give you all the data corresponding to this IDs, like wherever the ID is present, it will give you the data corresponding to those records. Now I'm saving this code. We'll see what happens. So I am checking whether the ID is present in this list of IDs or not. If the ID is present, it will give the complete data corresponding to that lead record. Still it is giving an error. We'll see, like while saving it. It's not saving. Duplicate variable existing lead records. Where we created another variable. Where we are using duplicate line for duplicate variable existing lead records. Sorry, here we can specify existing record IDs simply. Existing lead record IDs we can specify in a bind query. I'll save it. Now everything is clear. So are you clear with this Apex class? Simple. Here what we are doing is we are creating one asynchronous we are creating one Apex class and we are writing one method. So for this we added @feature annotation. So it becomes an asynchronous Apex. Okay, asynchronous feature Apex. In this, it won't accept a collection, like it won't accept the other data types other than primitive data types. So for that, we are specifying lead record IDs as a collection. And we are querying all the records whichever the ID is present in a list. So we are iterating through the entire leads and we are grabbing all the leads and we are storing all the leads in existing lead records variable. So now we are iterating through each and every record and we need to update all the lead records source name with a web, and we need to update that thing. So along with this, what I'll do is I'll create another Apex method. So whenever you want to create a multiple Apex method, you need to use an annotation for multiple times. So I'm using @feature annotation again. Now I would need to create a class for inserting a record. Public static void, like method should be a void method. Create lead rec, like I need to create a lead record. Okay, like these lead record won't accept any parameter. That's why I'm not passing any parameters. So I'm specifying data type like a lead. And for this lead data type, I'm specifying like another lead. Like I'm specifying this variable name like another lead. So after specifying this stuff here, I'll instantiate this new lead. Like whenever you want to instantiate in a subject, we need to follow these criteria, like as you already familiar with it. So now like you need to specify a required fields data. So I'll pass last name field like test. Okay, so spelling mistake, I'll just with the spelling mistakes. The next will be having another required field like a status. Status equals to open contacted. We need to give API names exactly. Open, not contacted. I'm passing this value. So after this, along with this, what I'll do is I'll specify company also mandatory field for this. So company field value equals to, let's suppose I'll specify like a SYS dot text. Let's suppose like I'm giving some random name. So along with these, we'll be having like I'm specifying another field value that is industry. So I'll specify industry value like finance, let us say. Okay. So now what I'll do is insert lead record. Like simply I want to insert this lead record. So simple, like what we did is in a single Apex class, we wrote two feature methods. Here we wrote two feature method. Variable does not exist, lead. So sorry, here another lead, right? Variable name. We need to insert this another lead here. Any doubts on this so far? Any doubts on this?
No.
So till here everything is clear, right? So I said while starting this session, like yesterday also we read, like in a previous session also we read, Prashanti, that is like we can't call one feature method in another feature method. I gave that definition. For that, I'll give you a conclusion. So we'll be having create lead records method, right? So I'll try to call this method from this above Apex class, Apex method. In this Apex method, I'll specify this method. We'll see what happens. I'm saving this. Though it is saving, it won't accept while executing it. Okay, it won't accept us to like while executing it, it won't give you an output. So for that, like I'll write a conclusion here. Calling feature method not allowed. Calling feature method from same feature method, it is not allowed. Okay, now what we'll see is like how we need to execute this feature method. We'll look into that. Okay, we need to know how we need to execute this feature method. So for that, what we need to do is we need to grab all the lead records present in a Salesforce. So for that, what I'll do is here it's not saved yet. I'll save it. We'll see if it throws any errors. Yes, it's saved successfully. And now I'm not removing these. So as of now, I'm going to anonymous window. So I'm going to executable anonymous window. So I'm removing this stuff. I think you will be having reference of this one. So now I'll create a map. With the map, I'll query the data. Like in a future, like in a past also, I think we saw this thing like very rare. In this session, we'll see like how to query the records by taking help of map. So here I'll query the lead records in the form of map, and here I'll specify name like lead records. Okay. Now here we need to initialize it first. New, we need to copy this thing, and in between this, like we need to write a query like new map up. In this, we need to write a query. Okay. So here we need to write a query. So we need to query. We need to get IDs for the lead records. That's why I'm simply writing select ID from lead. That's it. Like we need to get all the lead records present in a Salesforce first system. This is the first line. So after doing this, we need to call a feature method. So we need to call a first feature method. That's why I'm writing comment call feature method one. I need to call a feature method one. Okay, so to call a feature method one, like how we need to call a methods always, like we need to use a class name. So I'm using class name. Here I'm using class name. So after specifying this class name dot, we need to specify a method name. Okay, we need to specify a method name. Update lead rex method I'm specifying. So after specifying this method, for this method, we need to pass a parameter, right? So we need to pass a parameter. So we queried the data in the form of map. In this map, we used key like an ID, lead like a value like a lead as object. Means ID is a variable which contains whatever the leads we queried here. And lead is a collection variable. It contains records data in the form of list collection. So now we need to get all the queries. Like for this method, we need to pass a record IDs, lead IDs. So here, what we need to do is from this lead map, we need to pass a key set. That's why, like for that, what I'm doing is I'm specifying this name. Dot from this, we need to get all the keys. So to get a keys, we'll be having key set variable, which will return all the keys. Now I'll do this. So, okay. So now what I'll do is I'll execute this one. So unexpected token, line 1, column 4. Okay. Line 1, column 4. Where line 1, column 4? Where it is giving error? Everything is good. Line 1, column 4. Line 1, column 4, unexpected token. This one. Where it is, like, can you able to see the symbol somewhere? I think the line 1, this we're not having it. I think it might be in a debug log. Can you able to see any additional symbol here? Yeah, we need to bind this query. Actually, to bind this query, we need to pass this data in a collection. We'll look into this, whether the problem is resolved with this blockage or not. So method does not exist or incorrect signature. Void update lead record set of IDs from the type lead asynchronous. Line 3. In a line 3, it is throwing an error. So here, what is the problem? So here we are querying the lead records. So existing lead records. So we need to iterate through this existing lead records. Method does not exist or incorrect signature. Void update records set of ID from the type lead asynchronous. Okay. So for simplicity's sake, what I'll do is I'll keep it in comments as of now. We'll look into that later. So now what we did, like we created update lead records method. So for it's good. Now like we specified this there and we are querying all the lead records and what we are doing is after querying this record, we are specifying same thing here and there. Okay, now we'll execute it. Sorry if we did not highlight it, right? Method does not exist or incorrect method signature. Update lead records. Okay, we're getting error with this method. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here, I will look into this. So it is only our method, right? It is our method. This is only our class name, lead asynchronous, isn't it? Class name syntax is this one only, right? Whenever you want to execute any Apex class, so we need to specify Apex class name and the next method name, and we need to pass the parameters. Okay. So to pass the parameters, we need to take the parameters from this variable and we need to pass it. We'll check it once. Nothing is selected. Okay. Method is not selected. Map of ID comma lead. Okay. Select ID from lead. This query also correct. I'll check this query. Just wait, like I'll highlight this and I'll execute it and I'll debug it. It is only the code. Like we had some error. Like I'll resolve that error by tomorrow morning. Like I'll be having another session. Okay. So in this, what we'll do is we'll try to capture lead records. We'll be having 2 more minutes. If it is resolved, it's fine. Then otherwise, we'll discuss same thing in a tomorrow session and we'll go with a batch apex. Logs. Okay. It's giving a result. Okay. There's no issues with this query. So we'll be having this, right? If we go to the debug only, it will give all, it is giving all the lead records. Then we are getting there is no issues with the query. Then we'll be having issue in anonymous window. So debug, open execute anonymous window. In this, it is only our class name, lead asynchronous. Control C, Control V, execute. Line 4, column 8. In the line 4, list of lead. Okay, list of lead, set of leads, right? Here we need to take. Either way, we can take. We're querying lead records only, right? Mhm. There's no mistake with the list of leads. The fourth line only is saying an error. Fourth line, column 8. I'll keep set here. We'll see what happens. The set it won't work out, I think. Won't run even. It will give you another same error. Line 4, column 18 only. Method does not exist or incorrect signature. Void update lead records set of ID from the type lead asynchronous. Okay. In this line itself. So, okay, I'll rectify this error, and tomorrow session I'll explain you what is the problem, and we'll go with the batch apex and queuable apex also in tomorrow session. Sorry for the inconvenience. Actually, I thought of taking 2 sessions, but I'll do, I'll be having high priority class now, 9 to 9:40. Okay, is it fine?